as old as time, true as it can be, barely even friends, then somebody bends unexpectedly. Just a little change, small to say the least, both a little scared, neither one prepared, Beauty and the Beast. Ever just the same, ever a surprise, ever as before, ever just as sure as the sun will rise. Just the same, ever a surprise, ever as before, ever just as sure as the sun will rise. Tale as old as time, tune as old as song, bittersweet and strange, finding you can change, learning you were wrong, certain as the sun, rising in the east, tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast. Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast.
Hi guys, this is Andrew with rockclass101.com, and in this week's ukulele lesson, you're going to be learning Beauty and the Beast, and this is a exciting lesson for me because this is our very first baritone ukulele lesson. Now, for the last few years, you guys have been emailing me, writing posts on our forum, writing YouTube comments, Instagram messages, all that social media stuff, asking when is baritone lessons coming? Or when are baritone lessons coming? Well, guess what? They're here today, right now, and I couldn't think of a better way to launch lessons for a new instrument than by introducing our new ukulele instructor, Ashley Orlando. So as you guys heard and saw in the performance, amazing ukulele player and amazing singer. And I also got to give props to Evan for Obviously, everything he plays is absolutely gorgeous, so he added a little bit of magic to this performance as well. So let's talk a little bit about playing this song. So this is a great tune for working on finger picking, but it's also a great tune for working on chord work. Now, some of the chords are going to be partial or full bar chords. A partial bar chord means that we're covering at least 2 or 3 strings, and then a full bar chord means we're covering all 4 strings. So if you need a recap on how to do bar chords, click this click this lesson right there. It's going to teach you proper right hand form. And here's the thing, proper right hand form isn't only what's happening in front of the neck, it's also what's happening behind the neck. So let's talk a little bit about the lesson. So I'm going to go ahead and split this lessons up into 2 parts. So this video will be the part 1 lesson. And in this lesson, Ashley will teach you how to play the entire finger picked part and the vocal on top of it. If you want to watch the part 2 lesson, which is going to teach you what Evan's playing, so I'll be teaching that lesson, you can do so by clicking this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Beauty and the Beast. Now, also on that page will be the interactive on-screen tab viewer. Now, this is a really cool feature where you can hit play, you can watch the tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars to loop sections, slow it down to any speed you wish. Just a great asset in learning this song that much easier. And last but not least, that page will also have the tabs, so you can print the tabs out, and we put the lyrics on the tabs too. So if you want to sing along as you're working on this tune, you'll be able to do so. All right, guys, so I'm going to go ahead and hand it off to Ashley. I know you'll love her teaching, and I'll see you at the end of the video.
Hey y'all, I'm Ashley Orlando, and I can't wait to teach you this arrangement of Beauty and the Beast. I used to sing this song all the time as a kid, and I hope you enjoy it as much as I do. If you're new to baritone ukulele, I'd like to give you a quick tip. Imagine that there is a capo on the 5th fret. Everything on this part of the fretboard is what you already know if you play a soprano, a concert, or a tenor ukulele. So it's just this portion that is new, or some people like to say, you get a little bit extra for your money. So we're going to use both sides of the fretboard today. And hopefully, if you are less comfortable playing this portion, you will feel a little bit more at ease at the end of the song. Let's get started. I'm going to refer to the strings today as strings 1, 2, 3, and 4. So string 1 is the highest in pitch, and it's closest to the floor. And string 4 is the lowest in pitch, and it is closest to the ceiling. This song is in 4/4 time, which means there are 4 beats and a measure, and the quarter note gets the beat. What we're going to do is we are going to assign our first and second fingers, our index and our middle, to the first and second strings, and we're going to place our thumb on string 3. Throughout the song, you'll notice that my thumb will be alternating between string 3 and string 4, depending on the measure. For this song, we're going to use a very simple picking pattern. It sounds like this. All I'm doing is I am plucking strings 1 and 2 with my middle and index finger on the downbeats of the measure. And then I am plucking string 3 with my thumb on the upbeats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So for measure 1, we're going to make an E flat chord with our left hand. How I'm doing this is barring the 3rd fret, and I'm placing my middle finger on string 2, 4th fret. Now, the reason that I'm holding a full bar here, even though we're only playing the first 3 strings, is because coming up very soon, we're going to need to play the barred version of an E flat, which includes our ring finger as well. So I'm getting my fingers used to that position, all right? So E flat, we're going to play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and for measure 1. In measure 2, we're going to transition to a B flat 7 sus 4 chord. We have a couple of options here. we can lay our middle finger down and do a half bar. And then for the B flat 7, we can just move our finger down to only the first string. So that's if you want to use only 2 fingers for this chord. If that's a little difficult for you or uncomfortable, you can use 3 fingers. What I would do is I would put my ring finger on the first string. And then to play that B flat 7, I would just pick up my middle finger. All right, so either one is fine. Choose the one that feels most comfortable to you. Let's try measures 1 and 2 together, and you'll notice there's a repeat sign at the end of measure 2, which means that we go back to the top. And so we'll play those 2 measures twice. Here we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Repeat. All right, let's go to measure 3, which is where the words come in. Measure 3 is where we're going to start to play our fancy E flat chord. So let's put our middle finger back on string 2, 4th fret. This time we're going to add our ring finger to the 4th string, 5th fret. Now, if you look at this chord, if you're familiar with soprano, concert, tenor, ukulele, up here, if you pretend like this is the headstock, then this is an F shape, right? So all we're doing is we are playing not F, not E, but an E flat. All right? The trick is we're going to add a hammer-on here. A hammer-on is where you make 2 notes with 1 single pluck of the string. So in this case, I'm going to pluck the 4th string, and then I'm going to hammer on my ring finger so that there are 2 tones for 1 pluck. If you're new to hammer-ons, you might want to practice this for a minute. Practice getting a nice clean sound between those 2 separate notes. And the rhythm that we're going to play here is 1 and. 1 and. Now you'll notice the rest of the chord we're going to play in an arpeggio style, which means we're going to pluck single strings. What I'm going to do is I'm going to play my hammer on the 4th string, 1 and. Then my thumb is going to go to the 3rd string and it's going to start plucking individual strings down toward the floor. 3, 2, 1. Then I'm going to come back up toward the ceiling. 2, 3. And I'm going to pluck the 1st string 1 more time to finish out that measure. So all together, the rhythm sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's do that together. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Yeah, just like that. Measure 4 is exactly the same as what we played in measure 2. And conveniently, measures 5 and 6 are the same as 3 and 4. So let's play all of that together. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Till as old as time, true as it can be.
Measure 7 is actually the exact same chord and picking pattern that we saw in measure 3. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Next we go to a G minor chord in measure 8. Remember, we want to try and move our fingers as little as possible. We want to be as efficient as we can with these transitions. So if we look at our hands, we only need to move 1 finger, and that's our middle finger. We just need to take it off of the fretboard because that's a G minor shape. We're going to play the G minor by plucking strings 1, 2, and 4 all at the same time. And then we're going to do the same picking pattern that we had in the intro. So the rhythm is 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Next we move to an A flat chord. Let's look at our fingers again. We need to move up 1 fret closer to the sound hole, so let's do that. And then we need to place our middle finger back down on string 3, fret 5. And for this measure, we're only going to play the first 3 strings. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. You might want to practice the transition between the G minor and the A flat. Make sure that you can smoothly move between those two. Once you've got that down, then you can try it with the picking pattern. All right. Then finally, we're going to transition to a B flat 7 sus 4, which that's the chord that we recognize. Remember, I told you we would see this one a lot. We need to go back to frets 3 and 4. So let's move our bar down to fret 3. And then we're going to either do our half bar or use 3 fingers for this chord and the B flat 7. Let's try measures 7 through 10 all together, starting with our hammer-on E flat. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Barely even friends, then somebody bends unexpectedly.
Yeah! Y'all are so awesome. Let's go to measure 11, which, wait a second, that looks familiar, right? It's another E flat hammer-on, and measure 12 is familiar too. So we can skip that part. Measure 13, another E flat hammer-on. All right, so we can memorize this song pretty quickly because we have a lot of chords that are similar. But measure 14, there's a new chord. We've got a B flat minor 7. So let's practice measure 13 going into the B flat minor 7. All right, so we have our E flat hammer-on, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and we need to get down to the first fret. But if we look at our finger position, we're actually already in the right position. We just need to move frets. So 1, 2, now we're on the first fret, and that's our B flat minor 7. Yay! That was so easy, right? Now, this can be a little bit tricky if you're not used to playing all the way down on a baritone fretboard. So you do want to try and make sure that you're not squeezing too hard. The point is to figure out just enough pressure to where you can make all of the strings ring and not get that buzzing sound, but you don't want to have a death grip on the ukulele. All right, so we have our B flat minor 7 for 2 beats, 1 and 2 and. Then we transition to an E flat 7. Our fingers, 2 of our fingers are already in the position that they need to be. All we need to do is put our pinky down on the first string, 3rd fret, and we need to move our ring finger 1 string over to string 3. And now we're in our E flat 7. You might be tempted when you transition from that B flat minor 7 to take off the bar and stretch your fingers this way, but we want to try to avoid this broken wrist here. That was something that I had a bad habit of doing when I first started playing ukulele, because honestly, I didn't know any different. So there's a better way to do this, and if you keep your wrist tucked in, it's actually more ergonomic for you, and it will also end up being easier in the end because there's less movement. You're not trying to swing your fingers as far. Okay, so we've got that B flat minor 7 for 2 beats, 1 and 2 and the E flat 7 for 2 beats, 3 and 4 and to measure 15, which is an A flat major. Now we can leave our index finger barring the first fret. We can leave our pinky down and we'll just pick up our 2 middle fingers. And that's an A flat major 7. Right? So we're gonna play that for 3 beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and. On the 4 and, we need to move to a G minor 7 on the 3rd fret. So we just pick up our pinky, and we move our bar 2 frets over. 1, 2, 4 and. All right, so that measure in total will sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Then measure 16, we go to an F minor 7. Well, we already have our finger barred, so all we need to do here is place our middle finger doing the half bar, or if you need to, you can put 3 fingers. And then if I'm doing the 3-finger version, I would place my pinky on the 3rd string, 5th fret. It's a little bit squishy up there, so I like to use my 3 fingers. I like to put my ring on that 3rd string, 5th fret. Okay, but again, it's whichever one is more comfortable for you. So we play that F minor 7 for 2 beats, and then we go back to our familiar B flat 7, sus4 to B flat 7. And we're already in position. We just pick up our ring finger and voila, you're there. Let's go from measure 11 all the way through measure 16. 1, 2, 3, 4. Just a little change, small to say the least, both a little scared, neither one prepared, beauty and the... All right. And you might have noticed that on the F minor 7, I didn't actually pluck the 4th string. There are several chords here where you can pluck all 3 strings, the 1st, 2nd, and 4th string, and it sounds really nice. But if you don't, if you forget and you just pluck 3 strings or 2, it's okay. All right, so there's a little bit of wiggle room here in this song. All right, measures 17 and 18 are actually very similar to what we played in the intro of this song. You'll notice we're not going to do the hammer-on because this is at the end of a phrase. We only use that hammer-on for the beginning of a phrase to really make it sound nice and lyrical. This is more of a transition measure. So we're going to play that E flat with just the first 3 strings, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. And measure 18 is our familiar B flat 7 sus4 chord. This time we're not going to transition to anything else though. We're just going to play it for 4 beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, so let's play those 2 measures together from measure 17. 1, 2, 3, 4. Ever just the... And then we go to the next part of the song, which is letter C in the tabs. This is a new part of the song, but you're going to notice some familiar chords here. Measure 19, we've got a G minor that transitions to an A flat. I remember that. Do you remember that? All right, and if you look at the next 2 measures, 21 and 22, it does the same thing. The only difference with these 2 measures is that for the G minor, we're going to be doing an arpeggio, but we don't have that hammer-on in the beginning to take up half of a beat. So that means that we're going to pluck 1 more string at the end of the measure. It's going to sound like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm plucking strings 1, 2, and 4. 1. Then on the and, I'm plucking string 3, 2, 1, 2, 3, 1, and. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right? Then we transition to that A flat, which is exactly the same as we played it before. And we go back to the G minor and play it again. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to the A flat. So let's try those 4 measures together, starting from measure 19. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ever a surprise?
Yeah, all right. Y'all are so good at this. Next, we have a G minor 7, which looks suspiciously a lot like our G minor, except we just pick up our ring finger and play a bar on the 3rd fret. Okay, we're going to do the same picking pattern that we just played in measure 21. Then we move to a C minor. Now, remember, we want to move as little as possible. So all we actually need to do, we're just going to be playing the first 3 strings for this measure, the C minor and the C minor 7. So we can get away with just leaving our index on the 3rd fret bar and adding our middle finger to the 2nd string, 4th fret, and our ring finger to the 3rd string, 5th fret. All right, so for 2 beats, we play a C minor. Then we're going to add our pinky to the 1st string, 6th fret. And that's going to get a couple of beats as well. All right. And if your pinky is not very strong, then you might need to practice adding it without buzzing. You don't want a buzz noise here. All right. So after measure 24, we move to a D flat. Now, we need an E shape for this chord, all right? So we're gonna move our index finger. I like to use my index as my anchor point, my pivot point, I guess you could call it. So I'm gonna move the tip of my finger down to the 1st string, 4th fret, and then I'm gonna move all 3 of these fingers at the same time to make an E shape on that 6th fret, strings 2, 3, and 4. Okay, that might be a transition that you'll want to practice a few times. And we're going to play just the simple 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to our familiar B flat 7 sus 4 to the B flat 7. All right. So we've got that D flat shape, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's try measures 23 through 25 all together. 1, 2, 3, 4. Again, if that transition from the C minor 7 to the D flat is a little bit tricky for you, then definitely go ahead and break it down and practice going only between those 2 chords over and over again. Let's try that one more time from measure 23. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ever just as sure as the sun will rise.
And one more thing that you can do if you need to is on measure 24, you go from the C minor, 3 and 4 and 1. You could actually leave out that last and beat in measure 24. Instead of playing it, you could leave space there so that your fingers are actually transitioning during that time. For example, that is an option if you would like to use it. Notice at the end of measure 26, we've got another repeat sign. So if you want to do the solo in this song, then at this point you would go all the way back to measure 3 and you would play this entire part again. We're going to skip over that for now. What I want to show you now is how we would transition from the end of that second ending into the key change. So let's look at the second ending, measure 27, all right? We have the same chord, it's that D flat still. And we're playing it exactly the same as we did before in measure 25, except we're only using 3 beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and on the 4, we're going to slide. We're in the correct shape. We're just going to slide up 2 frets. 1, 2. That's an E flat. And then we need to slide one more time, again, up the neck, 2 frets. 1, 2. And that's an F chord because we're transitioning to the key of F. So now we are in our new key right here. Let's go back to measure 21 and let me show you what it's going to sound like. So we're starting with our G minor. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ever as before, ever just as sure as the sun will rise.
All right. Let's play that one more time all together. Again from measure 21. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ever as before, ever just as sure as the sun will rise.
Yeah, all right. Isn't this a beautiful song? I just love this song. It makes me want to sing all day long. So, key change. Don't freak out if you're worried about the key change. As I mentioned before, you're going to notice some of the shapes that we used earlier in the song. They're going to pop up again. Measure 28 is the same rhythm that we saw in measures 19, 21, and 23 when we played those G minor and G minor 7 chords. The only difference here is that we're playing an F all the way up on the 8th and 10th frets. So we're going to pluck strings 1, 2, and 4 together on beat 1. And then on the and of beat 1, we begin our single string picking pattern. So we start with string 3, go down, come back up, and then we add that first and second strings to the end to finish out the measure. So it sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. The rhythm for measure 29 is the same rhythm we saw in measures 1 and 2 of this song. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Measure 30, we're going to play a chord that looks an awful lot like the E flat chord that we already played, except we're going to stay on the 5th, 6th, and 7th frets. Right? Because the E flat was down here, so you can use the same trick. E flat, E, F. Voila. All right, so that's our F chord, and we're going to do the arpeggio. In measure 31, we go back to the C7 sus4 and the C7. All right, let's try from the last chord in the key change, which is our F up on the 8th and 10th frets, and we'll go all the way through measure 31. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Tale as old as time,
All right, next we have another F chord, but this one's going to be a little bit different, all right? We need to go all the way down to the end of the fretboard. So we're going to play that B flat shape F, right? If you're playing on a soprano concert or tenor ukulele, that B flat looks like this, right? So I'm just going to move it down and it becomes an F on a baritone. And we're going to play our arpeggio that we know already. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to an A minor chord. This is going to look like a D minor shape if you're thinking about a soprano concert or tenor ukulele, right? We have a couple of ways that we can play this. We can pick up our index finger and have it only down on the second string. And then we can move our ring finger over 1 fret. We can play it like that. This is the way that I like to play it because it helps us transition to the next chord, but you could also play it with these 2 fingers switched around, whoop, so that the middle finger is on string 4, 2nd fret, and the ring finger is just beneath it on string 3. That is also an option, all right? I'm going to switch my fingers back around because I usually play it this way. And the reason is because the next chord is a D minor. Now, this chord looks like a G minor if you're thinking in terms of soprano concert tenor ukulele. It's the G minor shape. What we're going to do if we're in this position is we can leave our middle finger right where it is. All we need to do is move our index finger down to the 1st string and move our ring finger over to the 2nd string, 3rd fret. All right? So that's a pretty small transition if you play it that way. If you play the A minor the other way, then you will need to move all 3 fingers to get to the next chord. So it's just a little bit trickier. Measure 33 sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So I'm plucking strings 1, 2, and 4 on the downbeat. Then on the and of 1, I pluck string 3. On beat 2, I pluck strings 1 and 2 together. On the and of 2, I pluck string 3. And I repeat that for 2 more beats. So it sounds like this. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. So we're going to play that D minor for 2 beats. 1 and 2 and. Then to get to the B flat, all we need to do is move our middle finger over 1 fret. Isn't that convenient? And even better, the next measure, 35, we have a C sus4, which sounds really complicated, but it's not because we are already in position. All we need to do is move 2 frets this way, 1, 2, and to get that sus4, we're going to extend our ring finger 1 more fret. And then go back to a C7. That whole little bit will sound like this. I'll start on measure 34 at the D minor. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. Let's go from measure 32 one more time, and I'm going to give you a chance to play this whole little bit with me. Measures 32 through 35. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Bittersweet and strange, finding you can change, learning you were wrong.
Yeah! Give yourselves a pat on the back. You are almost through this entire song. All right, measure 36. We have our familiar F chord on the 5th, 6th, and 7th frets, right? It even looks like an F because remember, imaginary capo means that this is an F chord on a concert soprano tenor ukulele. We've got that arpeggio that we know and love. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and to the C7 sus4 and the C7. Repeat the F one more time. Now measure 39 is where we change it up a little. We've got a C minor 7. We need to get to fret 4. So what I'm going to do is I've got to move all of my fingers. All right, but it's okay because I like to think of this chord as a D minor shape, all right? We're not actually going to be playing all 4 frets. We're only going to be playing strings 1, 2, and 3, but it's easier for me to remember to go to the shape than it is to remember specific strings, right? So I'm going to pick my hand up, and I use my index finger once again as my pivot point for this. So I'm going to move it straight to the 4th fret, 2nd string, and then move my other fingers. So we play that for 2 beats, 1 and 2, and then we have an F7. All we need to do is tuck our pinky beneath the other fingers. And you see my wrist wants to pop out. Try and keep it straight if you can. 1 and 2 and F7. All right. Then we're going to go to a B flat major 7. Well, our pinky is actually exactly where it needs to be. All we need to do is pick up our other fingers and put a bar down on the 3rd fret. I love major 7 chords. They're just so awesome. All right, so we're ignoring the 4th string in this measure. We're just going to play 1 and 2 and 3 and now we have on 4 and of measure 40, we have an A minor. We need a bar for this on the 5th fret. Now we have our index finger already barring fret 3, so I could be tempted to move it up. But if I look ahead to measure 41, I need to bar the 3rd fret again. So I can actually do something a little bit more efficient, and that is to use either my middle finger or my ring finger to bar that G minor 7, all right? I'm going to try out both of them and see which one feels the easiest to use, right? My middle finger is the longest finger that I have, and it's often the strongest. So let's try that. So we've got the B flat major 7, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and, ooh, that worked pretty well, right? I was able to get up to the A minor on fret 5, but I still had my index finger free to go quickly to the G minor 7 in measure 41. Now let's try our ring finger and see if that works. From the B flat major 7. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and that worked too. So whichever finger feels most comfortable to you, you are welcome to use. But that way your transition back down to fret 3 should be a little bit smoother if you can use another finger. So from the G minor 7, 1 and 2 and on 3 and 4 and of measure 41, we're going to do some pinky work, all right? So we're just going to place our pinky down on string 2, fret 6 for the C7 sus4, 1 and then we're going to pull it in 1 fret toward the headstock for the C7. So that measure is going to sound like this from the G minor 7. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, let's try from measure 38 all the way through measure 41. So starting with our F shape on the 5th fret. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rising in the east, tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, beauty and the... Yeah, all right. And if you have a little bit of trouble, I forgot to mention this earlier, if you have a little bit of trouble barring on the 5th fret with your middle or your ring finger, you can place an extra finger on top. Okay, here I'm using my middle and then I'm adding my ring finger just for a little bit of extra strength, especially if our chords are not super comfortable for you yet. That can give you a little bit more pressure without, again, death gripping the ukulele, which is something that especially in the beginning I had a major problem with. So I want to help you avoid that problem if I can. Let's move on to measure 42. We are so close to the end, y'all. I am so proud of you. You're doing a fabulous job. All right, we've got our F chord all the way down on frets 1, 2, and 3. And we're gonna play the arpeggio version of this. 1 and 2 and 3 and... Now remember in measure 33, we played an A minor. Well, it looks very similar to this next chord, right? It's called an F over E because technically we're going to keep our half bar on the first and second strings, but we're gonna move our ring finger over just like we did in that A minor. It's a really pretty bass line. And if that's tricky for you, you can actually just keep playing the F for this entire measure. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and. All right, that's the easy option. If you want to try the F over E, then you'll play 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and, right? The transition is on 4 and. Then we move to a D minor. You probably remember this transition when we went from the A minor to the D minor. So we are almost there. We just need to move our index finger down to string 1 and our ring finger over. 1 and 2 and 3 and. So 3 full beats. Back to an A minor, a true A minor this time. And you can pick up your fingers for that one. All right, next we go to a B flat. Now we're gonna ignore the 4th string. Go to your E shape, but only pluck strings 1, 2, and 3. And this is for 3 beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and back to the A minor on the 4 and to a G minor 7. We know this chord. Just bar the 3rd fret. 1 and 2 and oh look. The C7 sus4 to a C7. This is exactly the same as what we played in measure 41. 3 and 4 and. Let's try measures 42 through 45 all together. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, beauty and the...
We are so close to the end, y'all. Let's do it. Let's just run through it. Measure 46. We need our F chord up on the 5th fret, but this time we're going to ignore the 4th string, all right? This is our outro, and I like it to mirror the intro. Remember, for the intro, we played an E flat down here, but we ignored string 4. Well, we're basically doing the same thing, except now it's an F. So we're going to play that for 4 beats. 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and a C7 sus4 looks just like what we played in measure 2, but a C instead of a B flat. And a C7. And then you do that whole thing again. F for 4 beats. C7 sus4 to a C7. And we have one final chord just to top it off, like the icing on the cake. We're gonna play our F, but we're gonna add our pinky just to give it one extra note. This is actually an additional C. So we're doubling the C, but I think it sounds really nice. If this is hard for you though, you're welcome to just play the F. All right, I'm gonna play measures 46 through 48 all together. You're welcome to join me. 1, 2, 3, 4. For good measure, how about we play from measure 42 all the way to the end? Can you do it? I think you can. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Tale as old as time, song as old as rhyme, Beauty and the Beast.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I don't know about you, but personally, I like to celebrate a little bit once I finish a song arrangement, so I'm gonna go celebrate off camera. But once again, my name is Ashley Orlando, and it has been a pleasure. I look forward to seeing you in a future lesson. Bye.
All right, guys, so I hope you enjoyed learning this. This is our very first baritone lesson, and it's exciting to launch a new instrument, but also to introduce our new instructor, Ashley. So a very, very exciting week for us here at rockclass101.com. So I do want to remind you, if you want to get the tabs to print off and keep for your records, you can do so by clicking this link right here, or you can go to the site rockclass101.com and do a search for Beauty and the Beast. Now that page will also have the part 2 lesson, which I'm teaching, and it teaches the part that Evan played on top. So if you want to learn that section, we'll be covering it there. And also don't forget the interactive on-screen tab viewers on that page, so you can literally hit play, you can watch that tab scroll across in real time, you can highlight bars, loop sections, slow it down, all that fun jazz. So guys, again, I hope you enjoyed learning this, and I'll see you in the part 2 lesson. Take care.